I'm off to the parade later. I cannot wait. It's going from Trafalgar Square all the way down the Mall, down to Buckingham Palace, where the Lionesses are going to be announced on stage as the Euro 2025 champions. I heard from a couple of people today that people are already like setting up tents, setting up seats. Just feels like such a glorious moment, and there were so many beautiful photos, and credit to Nike actually. I don't know if anyone's seen the plane that they flew home in, but it was a white plane adorned with the home. It said home in written in letters, but they'd taken out the little bit that connects the two like long bits of H, so it made it look like it was like two, obviously winning the second trophy. But yeah, massive credit to Nike, because it looked like such a, and then they had like the trophy coming through like the baggage claim as well, which is another great bit of content. But yeah, it just feels like we're still in this glow. I can't wait to go down, see the bus, see them all waving, see them all jubilant. It is a little bit grey here, which is a little bit disappointing, but so many good vibes around London. Like, so many people saying they're going to line bike it down there at lunchtime and try and get the best spots. But Rach, you're going to miss it. I'm going to be there. It finally feels like you're going to have the FOMO, which I've had the entire tournament.
I won't. Yeah, but I won't. I've been there, done that, done a trophy lift, tournament parade, all of that jazz.
Okay.
Got the t-shirt, so I'm very happy to be in Lake Como and not doing it, to be totally honest. Actually, just that you said there about the trophy coming through security, I think they actually do that, because 2 years ago when Barcelona won against Wolfsburg, we were obviously flying home, and the Barcelona team were flying home at the same time, and they were behind us in the security queue, and the trophy is out and has to be checked. And then Aitana Bonmati was sat like next to me while I was packing my bag with the Champions League trophy on her lap, just waiting for everyone else to come through. So that's accurate.
That is absolutely mad. Can you imagine the audacity of a team that tried to sneak something illegal through baggage claim in the trophy? I mean, what on earth? But how are you feeling now the dust has settled on England's victory? How are you reflecting on the England win?
Well, I think, like, if we compare it to Euro 2022, which was magic and, had never done it before, your first time only happened, like, you only do it for the first time once. So that's always going to be a very unique situation. And for your first one to be a home tournament, I think all of that is just such a magical experience, and I don't think that will ever be replicated. And I think that's fine. I think it doesn't mean that you get used to it, and it doesn't mean that when it happens again it's not special. I think what made this one special, and maybe the reason it's longer for it to settle, is because of the nature of the tournament for England and how difficult it was, and how it went to extra time, and how they had to play 3 extra times back to back, go to penalty shootout twice. Like, just all of that, I think, makes it harder to just be like, holy shit, like, I still can't really believe that they've actually managed to do it. And to turn up in the way they did in the final, for the final to be a real, like, battle and good game of football. Yeah, I think it's, and maybe because it's not in England as well, so, and I'm still away, maybe it just takes longer to settle. But I do think the nature of it just makes it, that's what makes it special in its own right, I think, is the fact that A, it's away from England, and B, how hard, not that they didn't work hard in 2022, but how they had to graft to keep their hands on the trophy. I think that makes it special.
No, definitely. And I think, we were talking a little bit before the pod started about like the difference between the Euro 2022 win and this win. And I think going into Euro 2022, I don't know how you felt, Rach, but it just felt like there was a belief that we would do it, that actually there was something special in that year, having a home tournament. I think we were all off the back of COVID. There was this like hope and like positivity around the squad. And there was a real belief that actually we're going to do it. And obviously they went on and did it. And it felt like there were some really awesome performances that took place that like galvanized hope as he went through the tournament. This was a completely different vibe. I think going into this tournament there was a bit of a cloud of negativity. It was a bit grayer. I think the expectation was a lot lower. I think obviously we've seen some inconsistent performances with England this year. We then saw a spate of injuries. We weren't sure if Lauren James was going to be a part of it, whether Lauren Hemp was going to be a part of it, and then we had the news about Millie Bright and Mary Earps dropping out. So I think going into this tournament, and then obviously being in the group of death as well, and seeing how incredible Spain had been performing, they were the clear favourites for this one. So I think going into this tournament, it kind of felt like, oh, do you know what? It's a bit more finely balanced. I think England should, progress fairly well, but at the same time, like there just wasn't that feeling, that real feeling that we were going to be bringing it home. So yeah, I think in terms of my own experience, like when you had the home Euros, there was just so much like energy because you were going to the games, and like obviously, you know, having that celebration at Wembley Box Park, you felt so kind of, I don't know, involved in it. Whereas I think with the Switzerland games, and especially with them being so late, and I think we didn't really see kind of, we had these watch parties in London, but we didn't kind of feel the same energy of like the flags and the bunting, and like obviously that's what happens when you have a home nations tournament. But yeah, it kind of felt a little bit flatter. But to do that at the same time, like the expectation is off. People aren't expecting that much from you as they did in 2022. You're still defending champions, but to then get yourself into a headspace where you kind of override all the negativity that's coming, especially, you know, after that France game, because that was like devastating for fans everywhere. And people just thought, well, we're written off, we're kind of done. And to overcome that, to overcome the adversity, to overcome the injuries that were suffered before the games and then in the games, and then to overcome things like what Jess Carter had to go through. Like, you go through all of those moments, you come back from the brink of death a couple of times, and then you pick up the trophy. I mean, you can't give enough credit to the Lionesses for what they've achieved.
Do you think that the knockouts and the way that the semi-final went, and the comeback in the quarterfinals and then the semi-finals, like, drew more people in? Because I think, as I touched on before, I think sometimes we're in this bubble of people who are really invested in women's football and watch it a lot and critique it and analyse it. And I think when you look at people maybe who aren't in that headspace, who maybe just join or watch during a major tournament and can actually just appreciate the drama and the fight and the grit, and they don't look at this team and say, well, you were brilliant back then, why are you being shit now? Or this team you should be beating comfortably. You know, they don't go into it with that kind of opinion. They go in thinking, wow, you were 2-0 down and that team was like, look, way better than you, and now you're back in it, and now you've taken it to penalties, and now you've won it on penalties. Like, I just wonder if you feel like the manner of those two knockout games perhaps drew even more people into the story, because it just reminded me a little bit of 2015 in Canada when England were in that match against Japan in the semi-final, and Laura Bassett scored the own goal in injury time. And that kind of went almost not around the world, but if that was a headline everywhere, the heartbreak and the fact that England still had a chance for a bronze medal, but they had to play Germany. And it almost felt like the narrative pulled more people in to watch that final game. And I just wonder if you feel like the knockout kind of journey just pulled more eyes on the football.
Definitely. I think, like, when you look at the drama and the jeopardy that it creates, and I think the buzz and attention every time you progress through to the next round. I mean, we hosted 3 watch-alongs this tournament, which has been absolutely amazing. I think credit to people for, you know, turning out and, you know, supporting the Lionesses no matter what's been going on. But, you know, when you speak to people who are coming to these events, yes, you've got the diehards, you've got the hardcore fans who've been supporting the Lionesses, you know, way back when it wasn't even popular to do so. And then you've got these new set of fans that are coming in and sort of getting involved in like women's football culture. And I think the more the Lionesses have progressed, like, the more you've started to see like ticket sales are rocketed. They'll go online and within like 30 minutes all of them are gone. And like, when you speak to people at the events, they're saying, I wasn't that interested in women's football, but actually, like, I saw what they did in the semi-finals and from the clutches of death, and now I'm going to go to this game and kind of be a part of this community and hopefully celebrate something big, not just for women's football, but for women's sport and just for women's culture in the country, to show like what these incredible sports people are capable of. So it kind of felt 100% as the tournament grew. I think so did the fan base, and so did people who weren't naturally women's football or sports fans getting involved in the drama and wanting to see them succeed, because everyone loves a bit of a buzz and positivity. Like, it's been a really, I think when you're working in women's football, it's such a tough industry, I think, in these moments, because you want to celebrate the tournament, but you're working and working and working, and sometimes, you know, you get to the end of it, and to have a moment like the Lionesses victory and to be able to celebrate that and kind of take a load off and go, Christ, it was all worth it. It does feel like it's just it makes it all worthwhile. But I mean, this final was the most watch TV moment of the year so far. 16.2 million people watching it across BBC and ITV. I mean, that's just a massive stat in itself. We've seen a couple of, you know, attendance records broken, you know, highest ever at games. Like, you can't deny kind of the success of what Switzerland have achieved. I mean, obviously, Rach, you've been out there. I've been gutted. So much FOMO coming from me. Like, you've had so many like lovely moments. But what's it been like to be out there in the tournament and out in Switzerland and see the tournament progress?
Yeah, it's been great. You know, all the stadiums pretty much, other than maybe my favourite Wankdorf, you know, but they were all like good sized stadiums. Like, good facilities for the fans, easy to access for the fans, all the trams and trains and stuff were free, which was fantastic because of course Switzerland is an expensive country, so being able to utilize that was brilliant. It was majority of them that I can remember, and I went to every stadium, but the majority of them were very easy to access. And I think
what was
that was
your favourite
brilliant.
stadium in the end? I don't think you came to a conclusive one after that.
I really liked the Stadion Letzigrund in Zurich. I went there a number of times. I don't know what it was about it, and I normally don't like a ground with a running track around it because it's not great. You're much further away as a fan, but I don't know. I just liked that stadium. Good vibes in that stadium, and I had been to that one before, so I quite liked that one actually. I think and Sion, obviously the one with the castle overlooking, was incredible. Like the most beautiful stadium I've ever shot at. Although slightly distracting. So I think those two would be my fave. I think from like a media perspective, when we talk about, and it was something we discussed beforehand, and the concern about, smaller stadiums and stuff. And I think they did a brilliant job of making sure they're pretty packed out, or mostly packed out at least throughout, which was brilliant. I think from a media perspective, they felt small, and facilities wise, not brilliant all the time, small press boxes in some of them, small press rooms, not having TVs with replays. Like that's really key for journalists when you're writing, and not having access to that kind of thing can be quite tricky. Always a problem a lot of the time with Wi-Fi in some of these stadiums. It was the same in England. And, things like small press rooms, and like at the people getting turned down for the final, which was really difficult. You had some people out here who covered England all the way through, and suddenly they weren't getting accreditation for the final, which was really shit because the press box was small, and 10 of the seats were going to UEFA officials, and 15 of the seats were going to foreign media, and that kind of stuff is tricky, and that's where you feel it. But from a fan perspective, I think the stadiums were really great.
Oh, amazing, mate. I mean, what has been, in terms of sort of like the competition that we had in Australia, or you guys going out to France, I mean, how does that kind of compare in terms of like, when I was out in Australia, you kind of saw the country kind of galvanise and get behind the home nation and kind of, grow into the tournament as it came across. Obviously really helpful that Switzerland made it to the quarterfinals, but how have you kind of seen like the atmosphere build throughout the tournament in terms of like the fans and like the cities getting behind it?
I thought Australia was amazing.
Unbelievable.
Went to so many games that didn't have the host nation in it that had like 40,000 people, like consistently. I thought that was incredible. And I thought the manner in which the country got behind the Tillies was unreal. And I think you factor in as well that the World Cup's a little bit longer. There's an extra game. So it allows for more time for people to get behind their team. And you could really see that everywhere. Coffee shops, pubs, bars, everyone signs outside talking about the Tillies and all of that. So you felt that in Switzerland to perhaps a smaller degree. Every shop in the towns had something to do with football in their windows. Like you'd have flower shops with little like football balloons and like, bunting and stuff in their windows. And I think that definitely grew over the tournament. I think the way Switzerland galvanized the nation behind them in terms of the fans was incredible. They were super loud even from the first game. And I think that was amazing. So yeah, I think I was super impressed with that. Like 25,000 of them marching from the centre of Bern for that Spain quarterfinal is definitely a memory that will stand out for this tournament for me. So yes, it probably wasn't quite to the same capacity as Australia, but understandably a smaller country and a shorter tournament. So I think they did a pretty good job.
All right, Rach, it is time for our Upfront Awards. So this is the first time we've done this for a major tournament. We've previously done our awards at the end of every league season. Saison. I've got into the Swiss accent. But by popular demand, we're going to dish out our esteemed awards for Euro 2025. So here we go. We'll be giving awards for the following categories: player of the tournament, surprise package of the tournament, and our favourite what the fuck moment. We also have 2 new categories: Rach's snap of the tournament and my spiciest moment. Rach, we're going to get stuck into the player of the tournament first. we did our votes completely separately. We have come to the same conclusion, which is absolutely lovely. Always a big one for me to have a goalkeeping hero in the play of the tournament, because we have seen so many amazing goalkeepers in this tournament. But this one, for me, I think it's kind of under the radar a little bit in moments where we've had other people kind of take those heroic spots. Obviously, Chloe Kelly, Michelle Adjumang, Alessia Russo. But for me, Hannah Hampton has been like one of the most consistent, very quietly going about her business. Like, she's not the biggest character. She's not the kind of, the biggest energy in the squad. But my God, what she's done and the pressure that she's been under in this tournament, I think there was a little bit of shakiness in the goalkeeper camp going into the tournament. Mary Earp's a big leadership person, not going to be a part of the goalkeeping setup. I think when you're number one keeper, like, you do have like a responsibility to kind of like set the tone for like the goalkeeping setup. And you've got, yes, Anna Morehouse, who's a lot older and a lot more experienced, but Hannah Hampton and what she's had to deal with throughout this tournament and the amount of penalties that have been thrown at her. And I think there hasn't really been a situation that I've thought, oh my God, like, yeah, that was a really bad game. That was a really poor game. Or we've seen her fluff things, or we've seen that, the defence having to lose confidence in her. She has commanded her box. She has been vocal at the back. She has nailed the penalty shootout. She has like just been a beacon of hope and kept us in the tournament at really pivotal moments. There was that incredible like double save that she made in the semi-final, which kept us in it. And I think those moments, I know we can say that about any moment in the tournament. Sometimes it does all just hinge on a moment, but Hannah Hampton for me has been the absolute ride or die of the England squad. And I think it was so lovely to hear her talking about her grandparents and like how much the tournament meant, and to have like grandpa in the back of her shirt. And I've got a lot of time for what she's done. Rach.
Well, I found this really hard. And I know many people will come and tell us why we're wrong, and it's not Hannah Hampton and it's 6 other names. And, I think at the end of the group stages, I would have said Alexia Putellas absolutely nailed on, no question. Thought Geraldine Reuteler had an incredible tournament, knocked out of the quarterfinals. And I think Guiaro, another wonderful player for Spain, who perhaps doesn't get the same plaudits in that midfield, but like an absolute integral part of that midfield. People are talking about AKB, and I've seen this as been a number of teams of the tournament being put up across social media, and it has generated so much debate because no one can come to a consensus. And I think that tells you a lot, perhaps, about the tournament. A combination of maybe numerous standout performances, but also perhaps not having an out-and-out player who's just been consistent in every single game and just been like unbelievable. So I think that's made it really hard, and I struggled with this one. And I'm sure people will come and tell us that we're biased. And, I do think it's worth mentioning Aitana Bonmati winning player of the tournament. And, what a game she had in the semi-final, particular, getting them through in those final moments.
That cheeky little goal, catching AKB off guard. Yeah,
an absolute, magician. I thought Clara Eula Brand had been brilliant for Germany. Delphine Cascarino looked like she could potentially be on course for it as well. So I just think, it's perhaps some players who'd been having standout moments then getting knocked out, or perhaps then not being as impactful in the knockout stages. So yeah, I really struggled with this one. So I've gone with Hannah Hampton. I think you've touched on some of those key saves, and I just think if you took her out of this team, would England have gotten to the final? And that's maybe the way I've looked at it. Because I think, yes, the plaudits are going to Michelle Adjumang and Chloe Kelly, because they have been unbelievable and have dragged England back from the brink. And I think that's just been incredible. But I also think that penalty shootout with Sweden, that could have gone so easily multiple times Sweden's way.
I thought she was going to have to take a pen at one point.
Yeah. You touched on it there, that double save at the death from the Italy game. The saves she had to make against Spain. She had to be so on it against Spain. I think she made 4 saves in that Spain game, the same as Katakoi. And then, of course, the penalty saves. And to save off Mariona, to save off Aitana, these are world-class players, particularly Caldente, who we've touched on before. You would kind of put your house on scoring a penalty. So, and yes, I think the context behind her coming into this tournament as number one, as arguably the most experienced England goalkeeper in that goalkeeping group, which seemed crazy because it was be her first time starting as the number one keeper. So all of that on her shoulders. Yeah, I think that's why she's edged it for me, and I'm sure we'll be given other suggestions, and I'd love to hear other suggestions, but I found that one really difficult.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like, there are so many different people that we could have chosen, and validly so. But I think, yeah, Hannah, I think her role, like the defensive surety that she's provided, how she's stepped up at this massive, massive moment, I think you've got to give her credit. So, yeah, 100% agreed on this one, mate, all day. Right, surprise package of the tournament, player or team. Rach, what have you gone for?
I think it's probably going to sound a bit repetitive, but like I was just super impressed with Switzerland. I think given the way they came in, they couldn't buy a win. They'd had like terrible preparation for a major tournament. You know, you had the whole issue in Switzerland of funding being pulled and then funding being put back in. And we were all a bit like, oh God, like, how's this going to go? They've got this easy. They've got the easier group, the less difficult group, and they should get out. So what if they don't get out? And, you know, all of that kind of stuff. You'd a couple of players coming in with injury, of course, losing the likes of Bachmann so close to the tournament. So there was a lot going on, I think, for Switzerland. And I think the pride and the quality and the bravery and, you know, the way in which they kept themselves in, you know, that game against, was it Finland towards the end, that kept them in it for qualifying, like all of that kind of stuff, I think really brought people on a journey with them. They seemed very connected with their fans, which I think was really nice as well. And hopefully that's a kind of connection and bond that will last. So yeah, for me, getting to the quarterfinals, brilliant. Performing the way they did against Spain, brilliant. So yeah, I'm going to go with them. What about you?
No, I think I was very close on this one. I think I've edged towards Italy, but I think given Switzerland their flowers, 100% so well deserved. I think they hold themselves to such a high account. I think especially with that Spain game as well, that could have gone. I mean, a lot of people were expecting that was going to be, 4, 5, 6-0, and it was nowhere near. And they put Spain to the test. I think it was like not until the 66th minute that Spain scored. And I think there were even moments there where Switzerland could have even edged a goal. There were a couple of chances that they had, and I think to face that kind of competition so early in the tournament is probably like a little bit disappointed. I think had it been another competitor, I think who wasn't as strong as Spain have been throughout this entire tournament, I think they would have maybe even made it to the semi-finals. We'll obviously never know, but I think that was such a good reflection on like the heart and passion that they had to try and do their absolute best in that game. But I went with Italy. I think their progress in the tournament, obviously they had Spain in their group. It was never kind of guaranteed. They had Belgium and Portugal as well. I think the way they got out of the group stages and they started to cause team problems, and I think you could see kind of like how much like passion was just behind the Italian squad. I think the fans were absolutely outstanding. I think the performances they put in, I mean, especially against England, we had such a torrid time in that game. And I think that's credit to Italy. I don't think a lot of people were talking about Italy being anywhere near the semi-final before the start of this tournament. And I think as it's progressed, you can kind of see like the strength that they have. But I know, Rach, you're absolutely beaming because you were one of the only people that I'd even heard mention Italy as, a team to look out for, or even to kind of like go and watch the games. And 100% make credit to you, because I've been so surprised by the performances, especially, someone like Girelli, she could have been kind of player of the tournament had they progressed a little bit further. But, yeah, I thought, what she did for the team and galvanising them and kind of getting those through in those key moments. And, we saw the Italian players go into other teams' games and even like supporting just the tournament as a whole. And I thought, do you know what? Credit to them. I enjoyed watching Italy. I know there were some frustrating times, I think, being on the other end of Italy, where they were very much an expert in the dark arts. It was not always the way that I wanted to see football played. The kind of delays and the frustration and the kind of the rolling around on the ground sometimes and the theatrics. But I think, yeah, they definitely brought an energy and a vibe to the tournament that I really, really loved.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd peg them for dark horses kind of coming into this tournament. I thought, although they had some difficult teams in their group, I did think they would get out of it. I think they grew into it, which I think was impressive. And they had some impressive performances as the tournament went on. And yeah, I think you could just see their confidence grow and grow with each kind of passing match. And yeah, so they're not. It's not a huge surprise for me. I expected them. I thought if they got Norway, I thought they could take Norway. So I was like, wow, they could get to a semi-final. That could be incredible. So, yeah, delighted for them, and I hope that does have a big knock-on effect in football in Italy.
No, definitely. Okay, I've gone with spiciest moments. I know it's a new category.
Of course,
I wasn't
you have.
made.
We have to, because I don't know how we haven't got a bloody sponsorship deal from Nando's yet. Because you're always wanging on about spicy things.
I don't think, do you know, it's those moments that you lack self-awareness, because like for me, I hadn't mentioned the word spicy that often. Like I've actually like made a concerted effort not to say spicy in this whole podcast. Let's
roll
far.
the tapes, Finn. I feel like we need to have some sort of like little montage of
it's going to be
spicy.
Spicy. But yeah, if Nando's are listening, I'm sure they are, give us a shout, because I really, do you know, I'd love a black card, actually. I'd really love a black card.
Yep.
But going back to my spiciest moment, I have chosen AKB in the Germany game versus France. I mean, my God, was that a performance of a lifetime. And I think every single thing that she did in that game was absolutely stellar. I mean, France, we've seen them kind of like almost plough through England pretty much in that first game. They were an absolute force. This is a France squad that could be potentially going to the final, really. Along comes AKB. I just think in those moments, I know she's had a little bit of criticism, because there are things that she definitely draws attention to. The kind of Cruyff turns in the box, the kind of inviting pressure, those last minute kind of playouts from the back that kind of feel like those squeaky bum time. But in that game, she was such a leader. She absolutely owned it. Not only that, she was enjoying it. There was a smile on her face pretty much the entire game. And you just felt this sense of, she's invincible. She is an impenetrable wall. There is nothing getting past her in this game. And then obviously to take the game into like penalties, there was everything about like AKB that I just absolutely loved in this tournament. I think she grew into it. I think like she owned it. I think, yeah, I can't give enough flowers to her. But for that particular game, that was such a difficult game. Like they were 10 people down, like one person going off.
There were one person down. There weren't 10 people down.
Yeah, sorry, one person
down. AKB versus France.
That's how it felt sometimes,
her,
to be fair. To be fair. But there was a really lovely stat. So she made 9 saves, excluding the shootout, the second most on record by a goalkeeper in a Euro knockout stage match since 2013, like previous to the the Germany-France game. But I just really enjoyed her in that game. I thought she was absolute perfection, and it was just so lovely to see a goalkeeper just owning that space.
It's especially after, and I think maybe we forget this, after not having a very good group stage. Like, she didn't really play great in the groups. So to step up in that moment when needed, and not just in a quarterfinal, but in a quarterfinal against France, and in a quarterfinal against France when you're down to 10. Like, so many elements. I don't know whether each of those things just lifted her, and she thrives off that kind of pressure. So yeah, you definitely saw that in both knockout games, quarterfinals and semis.
Well, mate, let's go to yours then. We've got Rach's snap of the tournament. Rach, what was your pick for this?
I actually think I would have struggled for this until the semi-final. And I got 2 photos in that game, and it was a game I struggled with. I was the wrong end for every goal. Every goal was scored down the one end, and I felt like I was getting very, very little. And I got a photo of... I was chatting to Sophie about why I did this, because I don't really know why I faced the bench at this moment, but I remember kind of seeing Leah Williamson sitting over there with her head in her hands, stressed. The bench looked stressed, and I thought, there's like a minute, 30 seconds left of this game. If it doesn't happen now, it's not going to happen. So I panned across to the bench, and that was the moment Michelle Adjumang scored. And the bench absolutely erupted. Serena flying through the air, players dragging themselves out from the back of the bench, leaping over chairs, sprinting down the sideline, and also the family members sitting behind the bench erupted. And I captured that. And that photo seems to have done the rounds. I've had players ask for it. They've shared it in their WhatsApp group. It's been spoken about at press conferences. It's been used by the BBC in one of their chats with Beth Mead. The family members have asked for it. Staff at the Lionesses have asked for it. So I think sometimes you know when you capture something special. I don't think I knew at that time. And I came in from the game feeling a bit like downbeat, that even like England were through, so I'd try and deal with the bloody emotional rollercoaster of that. But I just felt a bit like, oh, fuck's sake, like I didn't really have a great game. decided to pull out that picture because I was like, at least I have some celebrations to put out. And it ended up doing an awful lot better perhaps than I realised. And then I went through all of the other shots I'd taken around that, and kind of all the different people in all the different moments celebrating that was pretty cool. And then the other one that I really loved from that game was Jess Carter and Kiara Keating, LJ, all going over to Michelle Adjumang at the end of the game and having a moment with her. And for me, that was just a really powerful image, given everything Jess Carter had gone through. It was such a powerful image of strength and quality and like just humbleness. And it was a really lovely, a lovely thing that I captured, that I was really pleased that I captured.
I love that, mate. Really, really love that. To flip that completely on its head, we're now going to go to favourite what the fuck moment of the tournament. Lovely to see that we've both gone for the same moment. Carlos Avamsa's handball. I mean, I've talked a little bit about goalkeeping in the previous section, and I really can't deny the quality of the save. Like, that's not the issue here at all. I mean, the actual perfection of the technique was incredible. The launch that she managed to get off her planted foot. I think the hand span that she managed to get behind the ball to save that goal. The issue obviously being is that she's not a freaking goalkeeper. It really kind of felt like those brain fart moments where she kind of, I think in your mentality, you're always thinking, protect the goal, protect the goal, protect the goal. So I think there was an overriding thing here. There was a main narrative that was like playing in her head. But then it kind of spilled over into doing anything at all costs to protect the goal. I mean, it was just even I think she found it a what the fuck moment. It kind of felt like she was obviously in tears afterwards. There was intention, obviously, behind what she did, but I don't think there was like a real intention, if that makes sense. I think she just did it, and it was kind of like, oh fuck, what have I done? But yeah, it was a great save at the end of the day. So yeah, but it could have been a very costly one.
Yes, and I do feel for Vamster because I thought she'd been doing very well stepping in for Julia Gwynn, so she had quite an important job already. But I agree, a wonderful save, and a moment that she did on purpose but didn't mean to do. So, which is a bit of a hard one to wrap your head around. And yeah, I think for a lot of this Germany team, we've given them so much credit for playing with 10, but we kind of forget that playing with 10 is generally because you've done something intentional that you shouldn't have done. So that's poor discipline. But I think, yeah, you're right. That one was definitely a bit of a reaction as opposed to an intentional action, if you know what I mean. And was definitely a wild one because everyone in the box was just like, wait. What? You can't do that. Hang on.
I had to honestly go back and rewind it. I was like, she hasn't. She has. She definitely has. But Rach, what's your second one then? Because it kind of leads on to the first one, really.
And I think both of us went for the Vamser, and then both of us pulled a second one down as well. And I put down the other red card for Germany. The hair pull from Hendrik was just absolutely bonkers. Like, what the fuck were you doing? And then on top of that, to have their like technical director or whatever come out afterwards and be like, oh, she was looking the other way. I mean, that made it worse. That just compounded the whole thing because all the photos were her looking at the girl and yanking her hair, and it was just that another brain fart. Like, that one's not forgivable. I mean, Vamster sticking a hand out reactively, a bit more forgivable than what Hendrik did for such a mature, experienced player in such a heightened game, in such a key moment of a game. It was stupid.
Such an aggressive move as well. And I think, like you said there was so much riding on that game. To put yourself in that position where you're going to let the team down in that manner as well, that's, yeah, not great at all. And I think I'm glad that VAR picked it up because initially I didn't even see what had really gone on. I couldn't work out what had happened. But yeah, great shout from VAR for once.
Have you got a second one?
Yeah, go on. If you're asking, if you're bending me back, mate. I mean, England winning the penalty shootout with Sweden. There was so many what the fuck moments just in that 20 minutes itself. I mean, there was hope, there was belief, there was dashing of dreams, there was kind of like destruction, there was penalties flying off, there was penalties being saved, there was a couple of good penalties in there somewhere, there were a couple of absolutely awful penalties, but I think it was just that roller coaster of emotions. I'd never felt anything quite like it. And I mean, even getting to the penalty shootout in the first place was super, super tense. Then once we got there, the shootout itself was one of the most dramatic things I'd ever seen. I was sat on the edge of a couch. We were supposed to be on this like really relaxing work away day. It was supposed to be like a real nice like culmination of like us all getting together and supporting the Lionesses in this moment. Super hopeful of what was going to happen. And then all of a sudden there was like, I think there was at least 3 moments where England had missed their penalties and Sweden could have put it to bed. Like, could have destroyed our hopes and ambitions and dreams in those moments, and then they didn't. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then like by the time it actually came to celebrating the win and us getting that final penalty and us, progressing through to the semi-final, mate, I was shattered. I was absolutely shattered. But it just kind of felt like that was a culmination, I think, of like all the penalties that have taken place across this tournament, because there have been some real what the fuck penalties. And I think, when you've had the likes of like a Lauren James or a Caldente or like Aitana Bonmatí or like Alexia Putellas, like missing penalties, like people who, like you said, you'd bet your house on.
Probably not LJ, but yeah, the rest of them for sure.
Like all these like massive names. Ada Hegerberg. Like, you can keep on going with these names, and I think that was just like a real hodgepodge of just penalty drama. So yeah, that's definitely my favourite what the fuck moment. Okay, our last one. Any honourable mentions for this tournament? Go on, Rach.
Oh God, I wrote a few things down. I wrote Norway's anthem sung by Astrid in the first game was magical. Yeah. Go and YouTube it, because I remember listening to it being like, I did not know Norway's anthem sounded like this. It didn't. It was like this beautiful arrangement by Astrid, who is like a famous Norwegian singer. So that was cool. Michelle Adjumang, just her, generally, all of it. Honourable mention, absolutely. The drama in the Switzerland-Finland game and the Italy-Portugal game to keep both of them in the hunt for qualification to the knockout stage. Like, there was some drama in the group stages that you were just like absolutely living for. And you're like, these are 2 teams I did not know I'd be so invested in, and like did not expect to have such high drama. And those 2 were like brilliant. The Germany-Sweden game was like helter-skelter. I thought in the first 20 minutes it was going to be this really high-scoring game that Germany were going to win. And then Vamser does what Vamser did and just threw it in a spanner in the works. So yeah, there was a couple of moments that were just like quite memorable that would stay in the memory, I think, for this tournament.
Absolutely love that. I definitely agree with Michelle Adjumang. I mean, we've given her so many flowers in this tournament, and I'll leave it be for now, just because I can't keep going on. I can't keep saying the same thing about her. She's just absolutely incredible. I went for the France v Wales game, and I think it's kind of my wider point around Wales and kind of like what they've done in this tournament. Obviously, it's their first major tournament. I thought the Wales fans were incredible. I mean, we had Josie Green, the Wales midfielder, in our panel at the watch along on Sunday, and she was kind of saying like how amazing like the atmosphere was. Like, so many Wales fans had travelled to go and like support the squad. There was this gorgeous moment where they were singing the Wales national anthem outside their first game when they played the Netherlands. She was like, the energy they brought was absolutely stunning. But I think they really held a good account of themselves, and like getting that first goal, Jess Fishlock, against a team like France. I mean, France had just like pretty much dominated the entire England performance, and then for Wales to go out and perform like they did, I know it didn't go to plan afterwards. I know it ended up being the 4-1 result, but I think there was just we saw like a glimpse of like what Wales could really do and frustrate teams. So I think I just get to give them massive credit. And I think obviously a big honourable mention, Rach, you touched on it earlier as well, but Jess Carter, I think what she's had to go through this tournament is absolutely abhorrent. I think the way that she's handled herself and the way that she's acted with maturity, called it out, has done that in the middle of a tournament as well when pressure has been so high, and there has been a lot of commentary on her performances in the tournament. I think to go out with your head held high and have the game that she did against Spain was nothing short of absolutely heroic. I think there was obviously a bit of to and fro about whether she'd take that space, whether it was going to be Esme Morgan in, but every single game that she's been a part of, she's shown this incredible leadership quality. She's come in, she's been vocal, she's picked players up, she's got people back in the game. And that Spain game, there were so many pivotal moments that she was a part of in that defensive back line. She really showed her true colours. So I've absolutely got to give a massive mention to Jess Carter, because I think she's been absolutely outstanding and has had one of the most difficult tournaments, I think, from any player that we've seen this year. So
for sure.
Yeah, big shout out to her, and big love. Rach, before we go, we simply have to remind everyone of our pre-tournament predictions. Okay, so our first category is dark horses. I said Wales, you said
Italy.
Great shout, mate. Absolutely great shout. We talked about this before, but yeah, very, very spicy teams. I think both teams definitely held themselves. They can walk out this competition with their heads held high. England's tournament will end in I said the final, and you'll see why in a minute. Rach, you said
semi-finals. And we were talking about this before. I was like, the Sweden topping the group just completely threw all of my predictions out of the window, because I expected England to face either Germany or Spain before the final.
We all did.
And I think would have been really interesting to see how the team would have gotten on had they faced either of those teams so early.
We don't need to talk about it because it didn't happen and we're the winners. Talking of winners, I said... Go on, Rach! Who did I say?
Why am I saying what you said?
Go on, who did I say? I said...
Okay, you're going to say who I said?
The winner. I said England were the winners. I had no doubt. There was no
Roll
moment
the tape spin.
that
I had no
even
doubt.
questioned that they wouldn't be this successful. I mean, yeah, roll it back, mate, because you'll see I had their backs pretty much from the start of the tournament. I didn't even consider.
Should Serena still be coach?
No, that was not my question. That was not my question.
This is jammy. You were given all the reasons why people were not happy. They were jammy. Rachel Brown-Finnis did not like that.
Anyway, let's get on to you being wrong. So you said that the winner would be Spain.
Delighted to be wrong.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. You were torn. You did say head and heart, between England and Spain. So fair enough.
And I also said, I hope I'm wrong. So you can rinse me all you like. I'm fucking delighted I was wrong.
Oh right. I mean, okay, mate. Last comments on Euro 2025. What is your, this is the last pod of the tournament. We have covered 16 podcasts in a matter of 3 weeks. My voice is fucked. I think you're about to lose your shit with the cleaner. I mean, where
in the hotel, by the way, not generally. They're inside cleaners, battering the room next door with the Hoover for some reason. I found this one quite tough. It was really tiring. We obviously started the tournament quite sad as well, so I think that added to it. So yeah, I found this one tough but enjoyable, and I think England winning it, perhaps made those very late nights and tired nights all worth it.
100%. And I think, for especially when you work in the media and you work in obviously the English media, to have a team that is successful, I think it just means a lot for the industry. And also women in grassroots football, we saw the impact of what it meant when the Lionesses won the last time round. It galvanised the country, it galvanised women's sports. I mean, not to forget that we also have the Women's Rugby World Cup taking place, kicking off on the 22nd of August. A home nation. I mean, to have the Red Roses win and the Lionesses win in the same year would be nothing short of phenomenal.
Have you got tickets
for women's sport? I have 100%. Good. I have, yeah. So yeah, I think for that to take place and to the impact it's going to have on the country is you can never underestimate. So just really happy that we were able to bring it home under a little bit more difficult circumstances this year.
And shout out to all the men on socials being negative, leaving comments, saying how shit it was. All of your views, all of your engagement only serves to further boost our content and give us more chance of doing more. So the silent heroes, thank you to you.
100%. And a big shout out also to Jerry Barton, who made an absolute laughing stock of the penalties that had been produced in this tournament. And there was a lovely bit of footage from him. I think he was playing for Man City or something at the time, where he skied a penalty over the ball. So if you've not seen that footage, please go and have a look, because you are a fucking joke. That's it. That was our final episode of Euro 2025. We're going on a break for a few weeks to rest, recharge and get our voices back before the Women's Super League returns at the start of September. Weeks away. Thank you so much for joining us on this adventure through another extraordinary tournament. We really, really appreciate all of your support, and we absolutely couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much. If you've enjoyed our Euro 2025 coverage, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you are listening. It really helps us out, and it will help with new listeners finding Upfront too. Please follow us on socials. We're at Upfront_pod. I am at Morgie_89, and Rach is at Girls on the Ball. And don't forget, my voice is gone. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to get our first episode of the new season straight into your podcast app. Thank you so much to everyone who's listened throughout the tournament. We really do appreciate it. Lots and lots of love to you all. And go and rest up, because it's going to be another big WSL season starting very, very soon. So big love from me and Rach.
Grazie, arrivederci.